Hey, greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here. This is my Market MRI Pro update for Monday, June 16th, 2025. Today was one of those days that probably is when people say you have to be in the market, or if you miss the biggest days of the year, you miss the opportunity because, boy, was it a big day, at least for growth stocks and type of markets that I like to trade. Again, my name's Jeffrey Scott. Kill my face. You don't need to see me. I'm an old man. MarketMRIPro at gmail.com is my email address. HGSIdoc at gmail.com works as well. My Google Groups is called Top Down Trader, and the title is The Futures Fall as Trump Talks Evacuation of Tehran. But we've got fireworks here coming too. As always, this is for educational purposes only. Anything I recommend should be taken in the spirit of education and not investment advice. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk, and you are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock I mention. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky, and you should always consult with your financial advisor. And I can tell you how to give chemotherapy because I'm a cancer doc, but I am not a financial advisor. And I've had my tools built for me in multiple platforms, and I trade consistently regardless of platform. I mentioned my Google group. It's called Top Down Trader. I post more videos there, free content, invites to educational and discounts off my services. If you should elect to join, that would be great. Know your news and earnings. Lennar came out. It wasn't that great after hours. Not a big earnings week as you could see. But if you have one of those stocks, it could be a big one for you. Tuesday, we got some import prices and industrial production, capacity, business inventories. But really, the fireworks come in on Wednesday when we have FOMC results from their meeting, as well as some jobless claims. And then we also have Philadelphia Fed manufacturing coming on Friday. So, still a very busy week to go. And as I said, some fireworks. The E index is something we put together at the Orange County meeting. We look at boxes off the bottom. We put together a leaders list at the top. And what you could see is we're holding at free parking, which is well, at the 17, which isn't even free parking. So I actually would have to change that and say holding at the 17 day. We're holding. I think the leaders are holding up is the message. And now let's take a look at the chart. So we're going to look at Market MRI Pro as the main resource. As we look at the markets here on Monday night while I'm sitting here in lovely Santa Fe, New Mexico. Let's start with the daily briefing. We could see that if we rank it by one day close, Bitcoin was up 3.45%. So if you have any of the assets that are tied to that, like Robinhood, you had a nice session. Obviously, there's Coinbase and a lot of others, as well as Bitcoin itself. Qs led 1.39, Spiders 0.95, Russell 0.9, and Diamonds 0.82. Over here, you could see that except for the Qs, they all closed in about the middle of their range. The dollar closed at the top of the range, but was still down 0.26%, and volatility contracted. If we look at S&P 500 sectors on the session, it was a growth on communications, tech, finances, discretionary were the leaders. Utilities, healthcare, energy, real estate staples were the laggards. And even though it was such a super strong day in the markets, it did come off the tops, and there were some laggards. Over here, you could see that we did turn positive on the new highs minus new lows on both the NYSE and the NASDAQ, but barely, especially on the NASDAQ. Over here, we have one of my favorite breadth tools. We look at percentage of sectors up, industry groups up, and stocks up for major indexes. The gray is the prior day, the blue or the green is the current, and you could see not all the sectors were up, but we really outperformed, especially compared to the prior session. 71% of the S&P 15 were 100 were up, 62 of the Nasdaq, and 64% of the NYSE. So a strong day, not a crazy strong day, but a strong day, and volume was kind of average. If we go into the timing model, what you're going to see is disappointingly, even though the diamonds closed well above the WMA, The daily or weekly bongos don't change very quickly. And frankly, that's by design. And you'll have to see these turn blue again for the daily model to turn back into a buy. And remember, we look at this line here at below the chart. Green is a buy, red is a sell. If we look at the weekly, a little bit longer term model, the weekly is all in a buy move. So what it suggests to me is that despite the little hiccup here related to the Israel-Iran dust up, the market still look poised to go higher and test their all-time highs. At least that's how it looks to me. If I look at those index ETFs, let's just break them down a little bit. Let's start with the spider. So the spider, if we go back, this is sitting at sort of a double, triple top, but this is the area of the all-time high, the prior top, and the question is, are we going to have energy to get there? We're just as close there or closer there than we are to the 200. So my guess is we're going to go up and test. We shall see. You could see we had a momentum come into the market on Monday. So a super strong day, finishing up just shy of 1% on the S&P 500. So my high road scenario is we take out old highs. Low road is we come down to this 50. In the middle is we just go sideways here. And I think time will tell which way we're going. All right, let's go and take a look at the Qs. Again, Qs top. I don't remember if we turned these back on or not yet. I think they're on in this though. Nope. All right, I have to get that turned back on. But you can see the Qs here are approaching what could be a triple top. You know, it's all-time highs, and that's where my guess is we're going to go and at least test. But we are going to have some, I think we're going to have some challenges there with the triple top. Up 1.39 on Monday. Again, the markets were happy on Monday. We'll see what they do Tuesday with the news. The Dow did get back above the 200. That's great, but it still has the weekly bongo is red, and until the weekly bongo goes red on the daily, it's still going to stay in a sell. On the weekly, it's long. Actually, the daily here is red. On the weekly, it's blue. Weekly, it's long. And then if we look at the Russell disappointed in that it failed at the first attempt at the 200. It traded down to the 17 as you'd expect. And let's see, do we get another run? And you see the Russell was up in the market 0.90. Commodities, let's take a, actually finish this first. The VIX, and this is kind of, it didn't do much. The VIX over here was down 8%. And the dollar, which is really bouncing off of prior lows, actually bounced and was up just a few pennies today, 0.11%. On the commodities, as some of the risk in the world came off and the risk went on to stocks, no surprise, gold pulled back down 1.5%. Silver is kind of just setting up a flag up here, flat up 0.18. Oil, a little bit of the risk premium came off, was up 2%, was down 2% rather. Natural gas bouncing on the 200, and both the 10-year and the 30s had small rallies, 0.45% on the 10-year and on the 0.65 on the 30. If I look at the buckets, you'll see we shifted out of risk towards the right. If anything, it's still very balanced, no signal. The market breadth tool shows nice reversal candle on the NYSE and what could be a morning star forming, maybe. Could be if that was on the NASDAQ. You could see volume was okay on the NYSE. This one here is clearly suppressing the volume on the NASDAQ. You could see here stocks above the 20, 50, 200. Gradually improving on both. And if you look down the middle, new high, new lows are positive on both. Advanced declines positive on both. And up, down volume. And if you look to the far edge, there's no signals here. So I also have brought in the 13-week new high, new low in a different fashion. And so what I have here are spiders, the NASDAQ Composite, the Russell 2000, and the S&P 1500. And what we're looking at here is the 13-week new high, new low. So you could see it turned up on all of them, 0.76, 0.81, 0.66, 0.76. Nothing is at a signal to be concerning. So I would say my market gestalt is I still think we go and test old highs. I don't think it's without risk. I think that the geopolitics are still out there, and I think the Fed will be a non event on Wednesday. Hopefully, the market will not sell off when the Fed does nothing. On the ratio charts, what really hit me today, and we'll have to see if this stays, is industrial seemed to weaken quite a bit. Now, solar, which is energy, um, the Senate is taking away some of the incentives. And across the board, solar stocks are down today. We can see communications was up, discretionary pointing up, tech is strong, and then relatively staples, utilities, real estate, and healthcare. The defensive plays are weak. Energy also looks like it wants to go higher. So if I go into the JAS layout, and remember I have in the neighborhood of 3,600 stocks here, depending upon how the market performs. It's all the stocks in the NYSE and the NASDAQ and the Amex, and I just do a quick filter for $1 and 100,000 shares. This is just going to update this. Let's give it a second. What we can see here is we had 3658 made the filter. Now, every one of these is going to be put into a sector and industry group. So these sectors and industry groups that we're going to look at right now have a lot more stocks in it than the S&P 500 does. If we look at one-day performance and rank them and rank the industry groups the same way, we can see leadership was tech, discretionary, and communications. So let's hit the top three. And this opens up just the industry groups in those. 1,125 stocks. Let's just take the top 10. Semis, software apps, infrastructure, retail, travel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these 662 stocks represent the top stocks in the top 10 industry groups and the top three sectors, which is exactly how you do top-down investing. And now let's just eliminate price. We want price greater than 5 and greater than 500,000. Gets us down to 372. Let's rank them by short-term momentum. Let's just take a look and see if anything looks interesting. We looked at CLAC over the weekend, and this thing is just an expensive stock and just got more expensive today. Um, Neon, don't know what this is. It's not Neogenomics. Let's see. Neonode, interesting looking pattern. I don't like the shooting star in reversal. AMD, a little older name. Is this starting to come alive again? Let's see. AMD looks interesting here. It's sold off hard. Let's just look at the weekly chart. You can see it's come off a long way on the weekly when it loads. But at least on the daily and kind of on the weekly, it's attacking that 50-day or 50 period moving average. So is it time to buy AMD? Let's look down here. We have, it's in an EMS. EMS came in back in here. CPR, volume breakout momentum, good rel strength OBV. I think AMD looks interesting. What about Meta? Meta's been super strong. I know I have a position in it, and you could see a big gap up in the markets, up 2.82%. Oracle was actually down in the market after some really good earnings, just kind of giving a flagging, profit taking. Roku. So it's not a bad idea to start going down. There you go, a nice breakout. The leading stocks in the leading industry groups and the leading sectors, it gives you a chance of what's working. So that's typically how I go through my analysis, and so far I like AMD here. Another thing I might do is just take a look at the top 10 industry groups. Now I've got all the industry groups in the market, rank them the same way, and you could see if anything else pops up that's different than what we just looked at. Rank it by 2-day momentum. There you go. I mean, some of these are the same. Futu is one that I've owned in the past. Probably wish I owned it now. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, nice pullback and a breakout. Beautiful pattern, getting expensive. Let's just take a look at its fundamentals. You can see great earnings per share growth in the March quarter. Earnings should be out. They're just not in here right now. Chinese stock pays a little bit of a dividend. Nice revenue growth as well. So Futu looks interesting up here. Broke out here from a base. Again, EMS has been firing since back here. CPR fired today. Volume breakup momentum in a squeeze. Good relative strength in OBV. I like Futu. And I might just go down the list and look. Let me just see Reddit as well. Cheap. Getting ready to break above the 200. And then ARQQ, I believe that's one of the quantum computer companies. Now, when you see something, you don't know what happened, you can always go over here and see if there's any news. Global encryption improved, wins key telecom, DoD contracts, quantum safe encryption. It's an interesting looking pattern. A lot of times these will fall back, excuse me, all the way down to the 50. And this is impressive how it's held to 17. ARQQ. So that's top down. I found a couple of things I'll be looking at tomorrow. The other thing is just to go into the impulse view and do the bottoms up. So the first thing I like to do here is I'll add another filter to the price and volume. Let's do pullbacks in an uptrend. And then I'm going to rank these by number of dots. Let's just take a look. SATS. Big move. I don't know anything about this. Roku, we looked at already. Looks pretty good. RNW. Pullback and then a breakout here. New Energy Capital. TKO. Nice pullback and getting ready to break out. And I might go through this list to see if there's anything I like. I mentioned Bitcoin did well. Coinbase probably did well as well. And let's see what it did. Pull back and a nice breakout. Excuse me. NNE. These are small nuclear reactors had a big move. Huge move. Um, Kind of in double top territory. Another thing I like to do is I'll kill my filters. I'll go down here, and once again, I'll do the price and volume. Let's look at the 2-day Momo up and see if we get anything. All right, Calm, they make eggs. I don't understand eggs. I like to eat them, so I usually don't buy this. And of course, the one time I bought it, I didn't do very well. CLMT, I think, is in the energy refiner space. Breaking out here. Does it pay a dividend? Not really. Okay, never. BG, Bungie, fertilizer. Breaking out above the 200. That's kind of a very powerful move. Now, this is requiring two big moves in a day, signified by these two blue dots. Great relative strength at OBV. I know Mosaic has been running. CF was running. This to me is in the same group. Doesn't have a lot of earnings per share growth. Revenue's not growing. Pays a nice dividend. But you could tell by where that 200 is that this is probably well off prior moves. Let's just look at a weekly. And you could see well off of its highs. A run up to 200 would not be surprising. And then we looked at EQT over the weekend as a natural gas opportunity. So let's take a look at the chart and then I'll summarize what I see. That's a beautiful chart breaking out here to recent highs. That's a weekly. Let's go back down to a daily. The daily chart, since it's a Monday, should look the same candle. Pull back in a breakout pattern we saw a lot. So it's just summarize. I think we still got some issues with what's going on between Israel and Iran. I don't think it runs forever. Um, I'll share. I can't because you can't do that when I'm videoing. NDR Research did an interesting thing and looked at like 3, 10, and 22 days after missiles fly, wars break out, and the markets do very well at each time frame. So I think this will reverse relatively quickly. Will we get to new highs? I think that's the question. Have a great day. I should do another one of these on Tuesday and Wednesday, travel day Thursday, heading back to the East Coast. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your support.